It's a warm welcome here in our studio in Sarakunda. This is Star TV News and I am Mimini Fadera. In the headlines tonight, President Barrow renews commitment to judicial independence as he swears in 2 High Court judges. Myanmar cannot be trusted to put its own soldiers on trial, says Gambian lawyer. Residents of Fonyi wants free Arabic education. On the international scene, Algeria holds presidential vote despite pushed for boycott. North Korea missile tests are deeply counterproductive, says US. Climate change tops EU summit agenda. Those were the headlines, and now the news in details. President Adama Barrow on Thursday, December 12, 2019, reaffirmed the commitment of his government to ensuring judicial independence as he presided over the swearing-in of 2 new judges to the High Court of the Gambia. Ajaka Disanyang reports.
While congratulating and welcoming the new appointees to the Superior Court, President Barrow recognizes the value of a well-equipped bench to efficient justice delivery in the country. This development is part of the process to reinforce professionalism within the legal sector and rebuild our judicial system, which has suffered years of disruption and interference, he said of the event, which took place at the State House. The judges are in the country as part of technical assistance from the Republic of Ghana. The president said his government has set out a clear policy path to ensure that our judicial system regains its pride by providing fair and speedy judicial services. Consequently, Gambians have been encouraged to serve and restore standards and professionalism within the judiciary, recounting that 8 Gambian judges were sworn into the High Court in 2017. It is expected that the services of these new distinguished judges will contribute significantly to the judicial sector by addressing the backlog of cases in our courts and preventing its recurrence, President Barrow said at the ceremony witnessed by the Chief of Justice, the Judicial Secretary, and Cabinet Ministers. President Barrow encouraged the judiciary to redouble its efforts, especially to address the huge backlog of cases piled up over a period of 2 decades. Chief Justice Hassan Abubakar Jallow said the president's interest in reinforcing the capacity of the judiciary is proof of his respect for rule of law and judicial independence. These, he added, are important pillars of peace and stability for any country. Chief Justice Jallow expressed confidence that the decades-long experiences of the 2 distinguished judges on the bench and bar will undoubtedly contribute to quality justice delivery in the country. He thanked President Barrow for having the foresight to engage his Ghanaian counterpart to revitalize the judicial technical assistance program between the 2 countries. However, the Chief Justice requested for increased resources allocation to refurbish the residential quarters of the judges and to also transform the Mile 7 government quarters into a high court annex to serve Bakau, Fajara and the catchment areas. Judge Alexander Osei Tutu, in his remarks, emphasized the good bilateral relationship between the Gambia and Ghana, especially in the areas of judicial cooperation. He named many Ghanaian judges who served a good chunk of their careers on the Gambian bench. We are here as Ghanaian judges to continue the good work of our predecessors, not just to serve, but also to strengthen the bonds of friendship between the 2 countries, he stated. Judge Alexander Osei Tutu holds an LLM in International Law and Justice from Fordham University Law School and a diploma in Transnational and International Organized Law Crime from the International Law Enforcement Agency, New Mexico, USA. George Francis Apanga Buno Achibonga holds an LLM in Oil and Gas and an LLM from the University of Ghana. Together, they bring over 15 years' experience with them to the Gambian bar. For Star TV News, Ajaka Disanya.
Myanmar Myanmar cannot be trusted to hold its soldiers accountable for alleged atrocities against its Rohingya Muslim minority, and measures to stop the violence need to be taken immediately. A lawyer presented a genocide case against it said on Thursday. Binta Colisens in this report.
Speaking on the third and final day of hearings at the International Court of Justice in the case brought by Gambia under the 1948 Genocide Convention, the West African country's lead lawyer repeated its demand for provisional measures to restrain the Myanmar military until the case is heard in full. Paul Richard said Myanmar has not even tried during the hearings to deny most of the accusations of extreme violence made against its military. Known officially as the Tatmadaw, known of the mass deportation of Rohingya following a 2017 crackdown. Statement from Myanmar that it was taking action to prosecute soldiers accused of wrongdoing were incredible, he said. He was referring to the findings of UN investigators who in an August 2018 report said the Myanmar military had carried out killing and mass rape with genocidal intent in 2017 operation. Gambia's legal team had outlined graphic testimony from their report at the first day of hearing on Tuesday. More than 730,000 Rohingya flew Myanmar to Bangladesh after the military launched its crackdown. The UN investigators have said 10,000 people may have been killed. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Binta Kuli.
Karamu Jadama, a member of the famous 3 Years Journey movement, has alleged that the Inspector General of Police, Mahmoud Diop, Minister of Interior, Yankuba Sonko, and Minister of Information, Ibrahim Asile, among several others, have aided and supported the movement as they negotiated their application for a permit to hold a peaceful protest on December 16th. Sena Bujasi files in this report.
Speaking in a leaked audio that made rounds on social media platforms, Jadama disclosed that his movement has now agreed to hold a peaceful protest from Sting Corner to Denton Bridge. On Tuesday, December 10, 2019, 3 Years Jatna was granted a permit to hold a peaceful protest slated for December 16 after intense negotiation with the Security Council and government ministers. The movement is calling on Gambian President Adama Barrow to honor his 2016 campaign promise for a 3-year term. However, the president has since changed his mind, now stating that he will remain president until 2021, when the country holds a constitutionally sanctioned election. We've had a very tough meeting with the Security Council and now we have succeeded. Initially, they didn't want to give us the permit because they opted for a dialogue between us, 3 Years Jadna and President Adama Barrow. They told us that dialogue is the best mechanism to solve this situation so that anything we need, it can be addressed. But we declined to submit to this dialogue proposal, said Dembo Jadama in the leaked audio. He added that they thought that they would be able to buy us, but finally the Inspector General of Police and Interior Minister support us a lot. Even though Ibrahim Asila, Minister of Information, did not come out directly to show his support, he was very helpful to us, and this show of support gives us the conviction that all these people are fed up with the system. Jadama revealed that their meeting with the Security Council was attended by 5 ministers, NIA Director, Inspector General of Police, and all cabinet members, disclosing that the aim of the meeting was to pressure the movement to hold a dialogue with President Adama Barrow. When they spoke about dialogue with President Barrow, we told them that it's not the issue and our mission is about the permit, not dialogue. We told them that the reason we apply for permit is to affirm our position that we are going to stage a peaceful protest contrary to the misconceptions. Jadama explained their encounter with the Security Council. He said the decision to hold the protest from Sting Corner to Denton Bridge was reached after intense scrutiny of the potential security threats, adding that an agreement has been reached for President Adama Barrow to personally receive the movement's petition paper on behalf of the government. Sena Bujase, Star TV News.
The Constitutional Review Commission, CRC, on Thursday, December 12, held public consultations in Buyam, West Coast region. The people of the area, while commending the CRC, opined that Arabic education should be free for every Gambian. Binta Koli reports.
According to the draft constitution, basic and secondary education is free and compulsory for every Gambian child. However, the people of Biam in Fonyi believes that should not stop with just English schools. They stress it should be extended to Arabic schools as well. And Sumane Fabure of Biam says ever since he was born, the government has only and always been concentrating on the English schools only. Parents paid for their children who goes to Arabic schools all this while. Therefore, Fabre wants the constitution to compel the government to make Arabic education free for every Gambian child who wishes to attend. Musa Sumare also processes that Arabic education should be free for every Gambian. He said, since English schools are free, Arabic too should be free. Yaya M. Jallo of Nyomi Jokadu but stays in Fonyi for many years, seconded the proposition. He said he wants free education for every Gambia institution, be it English or Arabic. He says Gambians' fund belong to every Gambian, so it should be shared among Gambians equally and accordingly. The issue of marriage, Section 52 of the draft constitution states, men and women of full age and capacity have the right to marry and form a family. Marriage shall be based on the free and full consent of the intended parties. But throughout the consultations, the issue has been raised multiple times as some believe that it is not clear. They propose that the constitution should be pretty clear on that as it fails to specifically state between which parties marriage should be based on. They are afraid that it might encourage homosexuality if it states as it is. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Binta Kuli.
The Youth Empowerment Project launched its first national poultry conference in the Gambia on Wednesday, 11 December 2019 at Paradise Suite Hotel. The conference brought together poultry farmers to discuss the role of each actor and identify the challenges and gaps they are facing. Mariam Adem has the rest of the details.
The Youth Empowerment Project, YEP, is an EU-funded flagship project of the Gambia implemented by the International Trade Center in collaboration with the Ministry of Trade, Industry, Regional and Empowerment, and the Ministry of Youth and Sports, with the objectives to improve skills, create jobs, and generate income. Speaking at the event, Ami Fabure, the Minister of Agriculture, revealed the recognition of her ministry towards the contribution of livestock in general and poultry in particular to the socio-economic well-being of the Gambian population. She also highlighted that the poultry subsector in the Gambia continue to encounter some setbacks. Madam Fatou Mbenga Jallo, representative of the International Trade Center, explained the ICT support towards the poultry sector was prompted by the outcome of technical visibility and financial studies analysis conducted in 2017. Ms. Jallo noted that they have seen high proportion of youths requesting support through their access of finance schemes. The president of the Young Poultry Farmers Association, Molamin Dabo, also explained the initiative of their association, indicating that they are also working on a new mobile app for their poultry association. Mariam Adem, Star TV News.
We are going for a short break and we'll be back with the international news. Welcome back after that short break, and now the news beyond our borders. Polls have opened in a controversial presidential election, with critics saying all candidates should be purged because of their ties to the unpopular former government. Thursday's vote is the first since former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika was forced out after a 2-decade-long rule in April in the wake of nationwide peaceful protests. Al Jazeera's Bernard Smith has more.
At this polling station in Algiers, there weren't many voters, but plenty of ballot papers should turn out pick-up later in the day. Here, in the early morning, just a few ballots had been cast in Algeria's presidential election. Algerian state TV found a busier place to show its viewers This Is Oran. The presenter's voiceover encourages people to get out and vote, tells them there can be no reform without stability, and says the people casting their ballots here were people who had recently been protesting. But in the port city of Béjaïa, protesters took all the ballot papers and ripped them up. They wanted to make it clear they think the election is a farce. There are 5 candidates running for president. This is one of them, Azzedine Mahoubi. He, like the others, has been approved by the state. All of them were senior officials in the current regime.
Algerians today are aware that they need the massive popular legitimacy. And that's why we're noticing since this morning thousands of Algerians going to polling stations. And this is a real answer to those who are doubting that this day won't realize what people hope for.
Protests began in Algeria 10 months ago when Abdelaziz Bouteflika said he'd stand for a fifth term as president. He eventually backed down and resigned. But tens, sometimes hundreds of thousands of people continued weekly protests against what...
Recent ballistic missile tests by North Korea have raised concern at the UN Security Council. In an open session of the Council, the United States called on Pyongyang to turn away from hostility and threats and re-engage in denuclearization talks. The U.S. also said it is prepared to be flexible in those negotiations. Al Jazeera's Christine Salome reports from UN headquarters in New York.
The United States called out North Korea in an open session of the Security Council for what Ambassador Kelly Craft described as an increasingly troubling situation. She was referring to North Korea's recent firing of ballistic missiles, 13 in the last 6 months, in violation of UN resolutions and increasingly threatening language. A North Korean official recently promised a Christmas surprise if the United States does not offer some concession ahead of a year-end deadline set by North Korea's supreme leader, Kim Jong-un, for denuclearization talks.
Let me be clear. The United States and the Security Council have a goal, not a deadline. We want to use this timely briefing to make crystal clear to the DPRK that its continued ballistic missile testing is deeply counterproductive to the shared objectives that President Trump and Chairman Kim have discussed on 2 occasions.
The United States has, while pursuing direct negotiations, avoided criticism of North Korea at the United Nations. It was right here just last week that European members of the Security Council condemned North Korea for its missile launches, but the United States was noticeably absent from that announcement. According to a State Department official, it was after Security Council members met with President Trump in Washington, D.C., that the meeting was called, but it still stopped short of what European allies had hoped for, focusing solely on missile launches and failing to condemn North Korea for human rights abuses. Kristen Salumi, Al Jazeera, the United Nations.
Climate change was top of the agenda at the first European Council Summit for new President Charles Michel and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. The bloc is laying out its environmental goals for the next 30 years. Al Jazeera's Natasha Butler has been following updates from the summit's first day.
Arriving for his first EU summit as Council President, Charles Michel left little doubt as to the main topic on the day's agenda.
Climate change is the #1 priority for this afternoon's meeting. I hope we will have an agreement. Climate neutrality is a very important goal.
The new European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen wants member states to commit to a carbon-neutral economy by 2050 and halve emissions by 2030. Under her so-called European Green Deal, all EU policy would have to take into account the climate emergency. But coal-reliant countries, Poland, Czech Republic and Hungary, oppose the plan. They say changing to clean energy would be too expensive.
If you want really reach the carbon neutrality, we have to understand that every member state have a different energy mix, and to reach this carbon neutrality have also different costs.
To try and convince Poland, Hungary and the Czech Republic to sign up to the Green Deal, the EU's executive wants member states to approve $100 billion in the next budget to help coal-based countries switch to cleaner energy. It wasn't only inside the EU Council that the Green Deal faced criticism. Earlier, activists had demonstrated outside to say the plan failed to address the urgency of climate change.
The heads of government and state are discussing today whether the European Union should go climate neutral by 2050. That is an important target, but it is not good enough to leave it to future generations to take actions. Our heads of state and government must take action today.
The EU wants to be a world leader in the battle against climate change, but the bloc's desire to help save the planet with its new plan won't amount to much unless all its member states sign up. Natasha Butler, Al Jazeera, Brussels.
At least 2 people have been killed in northeastern India in protest against contentious new legislation. It will give non-Muslim immigrants from some neighboring countries a path to citizenship. Opponents in Assam state believe their ethnic and cultural identity is under threat. Al Jazeera's Anchal Vora reports from Guwahati in Assam, India.
Another day of violent protests in Assam, and more tear gas fired to contain the crowd. But not enough to drown the voice of thousands of protesters determined to defy a curfew and make themselves heard. The crackdown adding impetus to the protesters' slogans, rejecting the newly passed Citizenship Amendment Bill, or CAB. Assam has become the epicenter of the opposition to legislation that many here think deals them an unfair hand.
If outsiders get citizenship, where will we live? Where is the space? We will lose our farms, our land. Then what will we eat?
Assam's wounds date back decades. The state shares India's border with Bangladesh, formerly called East Pakistan, until 1971. People here say between 1951 and 1971, a large number of Bengali refugees took shelter in Assam. But the new legislation says anyone who came to India before 2014, as long as they're not Muslim, will be accepted as an Indian citizen.
After CAB becomes a law, millions of Bengali Hindus will apply for jobs. We don't have jobs and we are already a minority. We can't let CAB happen.
350 soldiers were sent to patrol Assam, most of them in Guwahati, as tensions rose and life came to a standstill. Shops, schools and petrol stations are shut. The Indian Army is patrolling Guwahati, the capital of Assam, in an attempt to maintain calm. Many of the streets here are littered with burnt tires and with entangled metal railings, signs of anger among people here. Most of the protesters say that they're fighting to preserve their culture and to keep their jobs. The protesters seem determined to fight for what they say is a battle for their identity, but they are under increasing government pressure to stop.
The priority of the BJP government is to protect the traditions, culture and language of Assam and other states of the East and the Northeast.
Critics of the citizenship bill say it violates India's secular constitution by specifically excluding Muslims. Anchal Vora, Al Jazeera, Guwahati, Assam.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. President Barrow renews commitment to judicial independence as he swears in 2 High Court judges. Myanmar cannot be trusted to put its own soldiers on trial, says Gambian lawyer. Well, that's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you.